This is a massive story about the election, about what really occurred during the 2020 election. And it's exactly what we said happened. Not anything to do with the machines, not anything to do with paratroopers or special forces in Germany, but exactly how we said the election was stolen. This is an investigation that has even been acknowledged by Brad Raffensperger as having merit because of the evidence that he's seen, at least in Georgia. Brad Raffensperger, who's denied that there was any evidence of election fraud during the election, is now saying that this investigation needs to be launched because it has merit. Now, of course, we have trust issues with Brad Raffensperger. He was praised in that Time magazine article that talked about the coalition that was working together to fortify the election, not rig it prior to the election. But we're finding out now that is much more massive than just what happened in Georgia, what we covered on stream the other day. By the way, cozy.tv/Vince. We stream Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure to go follow over there, cozy.tv/Vince. So a lot of information is coming out, a lot of geolocation data, a lot of surveillance footage is coming out, and it shows that it's much larger than just in Georgia. It happened in every single swing state. Well, what happened? Well, they have footage of hundreds, probably thousands of activists visiting drop boxes from the hours of 12 a.m. to 5 a.m., right around the time when they said the Red Mirage was going to happen. Big surprise. Multiple times apiece, sometimes with so many ballots in their hands that the ballots are falling out. You can see this on footage. Taking pictures of the ballots before they put them into the drop box, obviously, to get paid by whoever was paying them to do this. And this investigation has been conducted. It's been ongoing for about a year, conducted by a group called True the Vote. Now, True the Vote, for those who don't know, is a conservative group that was targeted heavily during the Barack Obama administration. They viewed this group as a big threat, especially right before leaving office. They targeted them. The IRS raided them twice. The FBI raided them 4 times. And they won subsequent lawsuits under the Trump administration. So this is a group that they viewed as a big threat. And now they have terabytes of data, terabytes of surveillance footage, terabytes of geolocation data that they're beginning to release now. And so we're going to go over some of that new footage, and we're going to go over a story about True the Vote and this clandestine voter fraud investigation. I also want to talk about this Pennsylvania news. So they ruled that Biden's 2 million mail-in ballots would now be unconstitutional. So we're going to talk about that as well. Before we get started, though, I just want to thank this video sponsor. This video has been kindly sponsored by My Digital Money. And there's a lot of people that say that, you know, they don't really get into cryptocurrency. Why? Well, they say it's too volatile, right? It's too easy to lose money. Or a lot of people say they can't understand it. They can't figure out the apps. They can't figure out how the exchanges work, or whatever the case may be. But My Digital Money understands it. Now you can talk to a US-based expert, not a website or a call center that doesn't give you answers. A real US person who speaks English, and they will explain everything to you. They'll set up an account. You'll be able to view it online. It'll be easy. They'll walk you through it. Anytime you have a question, you can get in contact with them. So make sure to hit the link in the description below, or just call 833-636-2008. Make sure to contact them. Big shout out to My Digital Money for sponsoring the show, having the courage to sponsor the show. It helps the show tremendously if you contact them. MyDigitalMoney.com is their website. All right, so let's get into this article here. This is an exclusive, and this was from a while ago. But I just want to give you sort of a brief summary of this investigation that has been happening. It says, True the Vote has been conducting a massive clandestine voter fraud investigation basically since the 2020 election. It says conservative election integrity group True the Vote has been conducting a months-long massive and clandestine voter fraud investigation into the 2020 presidential election, the results of which may soon start coming out, and we're seeing them start to come out now. A document that the group's founder, Catherine Engelbright, I think that's how you pronounce her last name, circulated to prospective donors, obtained by Breitbart News, details several facets of the investigation, which centers on what the group describes as a collection of cell phone GPS ping data in key election hotspots around the country, including Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Big surprise, right? States that Trump was up big by hundreds of thousands, millions of votes. Until, of course, the so-called Red Mirage occurred, which was actually just this. So in the Georgia investigation, just to, once again, give a brief summary, we covered this on stream. Brad Raffensperger acknowledged this as an investigation that has merit. He's launched this investigation. Of course, we don't trust him. Like I said, he was praised in that Time magazine article. But it was an investigation. He was presented with evidence of 242 activists that visited, I don't know how many drop boxes, 23 times, on average, 23 times each. Okay. Taking pictures, putting the ballots in the drop box, and it's obvious what they were doing, right? Ballot harvesting. This is how the election was stolen. Ballot harvesting. But we're finding out it's not just in Georgia. It was in every single swing state throughout the swing states. And so this is the information that's coming out right now. When reached and asked for the comment on the forthcoming investigation, Engelbright confirmed the authenticity of the document and its contents, but declined further comment at this time. The document says the True the Vote has spent the last several months since late last year collecting more than 27 terabytes of geospatial and temporal data, a total of 10 trillion cell phone pings, 10 trillion, between October 1st and November 6th in targeted areas in Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Texas. The data includes geofenced points of interest like ballot drop box locations, as well as UPS stores, and select government, commercial, and non-governmental organization NGO facilities. What the document says is that True the Vote was able to take cell phone ping data on a mass-wide scale and piece together that several people, suspected ballot harvesters, were making multiple trips to multiple drop boxes, raising potential legal questions in a number of these states. But it's much bigger than just a couple. The document states that True the Vote has obtained 1 full petabyte of surveillance footage on drop boxes, 2 million minutes of video, which it says it broken into 73,000 individual video files, 73,000 video files. The group is expected to begin releasing some of these videos, which purportedly show the same people going multiple times to the same drop boxes in the coming weeks. Now, like I said, this article was written a while ago, and a lot of this information is beginning to come out now. So I showed you this clip. This is from the Georgia investigation. And like I said, this is something that even Brad Raffensperger, look at him taking pictures of the ballots before he puts it into the drop boxes. This is something that even Brad Raffensperger acknowledged had merit because of the evidence that was presented to him by True the Vote, who was targeted heavily under the Barack Obama administration. And now we can see for a good reason, right? Because he saw them as a threat. So taking pictures, shoving the ballots, I don't know how many ballots, into these drop boxes. And in this Georgia investigation, they have video footage, surveillance video footage that they gathered from nearby stores or from, the surveillance footage that was on the drop box itself. Now you have to remember, a lot of these drop boxes, like in Wisconsin, they didn't even have footage. They couldn't obtain there was no footage. I think we know why. But the footage that they did obtain showed that at least 200 people visited multiple drop boxes 23 times apiece and dropped these ballots off. Every single one of them taking pictures like this before they put these ballots in the drop boxes, which is illegal. And this is what Trump means when he talks about the election was illegal. They say there's no evidence. This is a conspiracy theory. This is what he's talking about. This is how the election fraud occurred. Ballot harvesting all across the country. I personally was involved with a group of data scientists, PhDs, who I'm not going to name any of their names. I was personally involved with trying to look at these statistics and come to a conclusion. And the conclusion that we came to by going through this data from these data analysts, these data scientists, the conclusion that we came to was that these sorts of swings that we saw from day to day were literally impossible. Statistically impossible. Not implausible, not unlikely, impossible. And this is the reason why they were impossible. Because these drops occurred midnight to 5 a.m. after everyone went to sleep, after Trump was up by hundreds of thousands or millions of votes in many of these swing states. This is what Trump means when he says illegal votes. All the other stuff about the machines and about these special forces in Germany and, this is all information put out by people who are against us to poison the well. This was more than enough. This is exactly how it happened. I'm going to play another clip here. This is another. I've never seen this. This is the first time I've seen this. This is never before seen security footage of some of the stuff that was going on all across the country. Take a look at this clip now.
This one mule made 53 trips to 20 drop boxes. He's not alone. We tracked 2,000 mules making multiple ballot drops. leaving no fingerprints. Snapping photos to get paid. A coordinated ring of illegal vote harvesting in all the key states where the election was decided.
They've delivered us a clear victory.
So 2,000 people doing these drop boxes all across the country in basically every single one of the swing states we mentioned. And you have to remember, when we go back to that Time Magazine article, there was a Time Magazine article that they wrote where they basically admitted the election, right? The election was fortified. They say fortified by these activists. And they actually thank Brad Raffensperger for a lot of the stuff that he's done. So we don't really trust Brad Raffensperger or really what he says. And I actually forgot to bring this up, so I'll just bring this up real quick. We did archive this before, so it should just pop up. I have to prove that I'm not a robot, of course. I may be a robot, who knows. But if you read through this, it says the secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the election. It talks about this coalition of activists, of billionaires, and things like this that all worked together. And they said that they worked together to change election laws to allow for these drop boxes to be implemented, to be installed in basically every single one of these swing states. They worked together to get Brad Raffensperger to change his election rules, to get Wisconsin to change their election rules, to allow for people to register as indefinitely confined, to be able to skirt the ballot verification process. And now they weren't rigging the election, they were fortifying the election. This is what this Time Magazine article talks about. And this is exactly what they meant. This group of activists is exactly what they were talking about. That's exactly it. Now, we have this other story about Pennsylvania. I want to read through this briefly. So basically, Biden's nearly 2 million mail-in Pennsylvania votes in 2020 would now be unconstitutional. So this is a step in the right direction. On Friday morning, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court struck down the state's 2019 law that expanded mail-in voting. So they got these states to change these election laws, and now they're trying to revert back to them. They're being sued by the federal government for reverting back to pre-coronavirus election rules. But these rules should have never been changed. They were changed without the approval of the legislature, which is a violation of the Equal Protections Clause, or of the Elections Clause. And a violation of the Equal Protections Clause because these drop boxes were set up in these areas, in these Democrat-controlled areas of these swing states. And not in the Republican-controlled areas. Or the red parts. So that's what Trump means when he says the election was stolen. That's enough proof. Like, this is undeniable. Okay, this is undeniable. What do you think these people are doing by visiting these drop boxes 23 times apiece, 2,000 different activists that they have on surveillance footage, taking pictures of the ballots before they put them in the drawer? What do you think that they're doing? The fact that they have these multiple ballots is illegal to begin with, first of all. I think certain states allow you to do 3, like the max. But most is that the election was illegal. The election was fraudulent. The election was stolen. And looking at this, anyone who still denies this is a retard at this point. So remember the whole thing about the red mirage? The red mirage. That first it's going to look like Trump is winning, and then it's not going to look like Trump is winning anymore because the mail-in ballots. Well, the thing that we pointed out on our website back then is that we looked into this, and even MSNBC reported this. We have screenshots from their website. First of all, there was more Republican requests for mail-in ballots than Democrats, more in-person ballots returned for Republicans than Democrats, but more requests for mail-in ballots than Democrats in many of these swing states. So how does that make any sense? Even we have the screenshots on our website. Even they showed this. Of course, it doesn't make sense because it doesn't add up, because it's statistically impossible, because this happened. That's how it doesn't make sense. So here's the question. We have all this information. We have this surveillance footage. We have, the rest of this stuff. Will anyone get arrested? Will Republicans ban mail-in ballots once and for all in these conservative-controlled states? Half of the states are controlled by conservative state legislatures who refused to stop the certification of the election because they were scared. Will they actually act that now? Go further than what Pennsylvania just did? Ban mail-in ballots completely, aside from a few certain things, maybe military members, maybe. If people can walk to a drop box, ban drop boxes too. If people can walk to a drop box, they certainly can turn in their ballot at the election office, local election office. Make sure surveillance is installed at these ballot drop boxes. and arrest these people who are on this geolocation and cell phone footage because they're clearly conducting illegal activity. I don't know. A lot of these Republicans are sort of like Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham broke from Trump recently about Trump's pledge to pardon peaceful Jan 6 protesters. He said it's inappropriate. We'll see what happens. That's what we have. Make sure to check out the links in the description below for My Digital Money and dailyveracity.com/support. In order for the show to continue and for the website to grow, I need your support. You can support by going to Subscribestar, where you will get access to the private Telegram group chat, the Discord, and all exclusive content. You can also support the show by using cryptocurrency. All of that information is in the description below. You can also support by going to preparewithvincent.com or waterwithvincent.com for your 25-year shelf life dry food supply or water filtration needs. Check out the links in the description below. It helps the show tremendously.